Paul Weidner, welcome back to the podcast. Athletes out there, this one's for you. Paul, let's get going. Welcome back here.
Thank you. Excited to talk to you athletes. It's good.
Awesome. So athletes, this is going to be number one, a great podcast. Number two, really useful on we talk all about the process and not focusing on the outcome, not focusing so much on stats. And we're not here to tell you that you will never look at stats because we'd be lying to you. Stats are one measurement of how you're playing. It's a fact, but it is one measurement of many measurements, right? It doesn't say whether you're getting better in a certain area just because you do or don't get hits or do or don't score points. Mm-hmm. So we want you to have other areas of focus. Am I making progress even if I go 0 for 4? Am I making progress? Am I seeing progress? What do I look at that I can maybe not measure on a sheet, but that I know, and maybe on a sheet, we'll talk about that, but that I know I'm getting better at, that I know is an area I need to focus on in order to get better as a player. So let's get into this, Paul. Where do you want to start this puppy?
Well, one of the things that we hope that you are becoming equipped with, and obviously we'll try to, in case this is brand new to you, maybe give you a crash course on it just real briefly, is like, what is the value of doing some things physically, like maybe with a routine or something you do to help with your resiliency or your preparation for a game that is all within your control, and the mental value of that in terms of the process it gives you to have the best chance of success, not guaranteed success, but have a chance of success. And if you have not ever had that introduced to you or don't understand that part, it can be really hard to even know what to look at. So like for us, we value a lot making sure you have some sort of routine that you can go to in the batter's box, between pitches, before at bats, all that different type of stuff. When you have that, and that's been established, you know that one of the measuring sticks that you can look at is how well you executed that routine to put yourself in the best chance of having success. And then it frees you up to be like, whatever the results are going to be after that are going to be what they're going to be. But I know that I did everything I could to put myself in the best position I could to have success. And if there were guarantees that we could have success, we would all do whatever that thing is, but that's just not the way it works. So arming yourself with those things from maybe an education standpoint or practicing it is super, super important. But assuming you do have some of those things that you know you can go to, holding yourself to a measuring stick of your execution on the controllable aspects of your game is the measuring stick to ultimately to go off of, so that you're not beholden to the 4 for 4 versus 0 for 4. And I really like this game because I went 4 for 4, and I hate this game because I didn't. And it steadies you, centers you, all that good stuff. So crash course a little bit, the podcast could be 2 hours if we wanted to talk about that, but just making sure you do have those things. And then that's where your sights are actually set when that time comes.
Really good. So if you don't know about routines, you can scroll back through podcasts. We've talked about routines and building routines and the importance of that. And it's on the field, it's off the field, it's pregame, it's all these different things. So yes, huge value in feeling like you are doing the right things off the field, in the weight room, pregame, before you step in the batter's box, before you step to the free throw line. Love it. And I'm going to throw this in there. I think there's huge value in journaling this before your game. Here's where I am going to place my focus. I'm going to take my deep breath. I'm going to look at my focal point. I'm going to know what my plan is, whatever it might be. So once you've leaned into that and set it in your head, this is what I'm going to do. Generally, you have a much better chance of following through with that. So all that said, we have a good routine, Paul. We're focused on our routine, and we don't have success in the game. Mm-hmm. We're 0 for 4. I'm still looking at the stat sheet. We lost the game. Then what? Then how do I assess, stay strong mentally? What do I do next? Let's before we get into that. Mm-hmm. This is something we talked about. We did the same kind of video for the parents, athletes, and we talked about, and we'll get back to this more focused area. But we talked about 5 things that athletes should have and that parents can help their son or daughter, you athletes, be aware of, right? Energy, effort, attitude, resilience, good teammate. So as you're going into games, as you're going into practices, write those 5 things down. Same thing in a notebook. I am going to be really good in these areas today because I know they don't seem super specific to your at bats or your games. But if you make a decision that I am going to be more resilient, I'm going to be a great teammate, as Paul mentioned, it gives you a much better chance of success in the game. This stuff has been proven. We're not making this up. If you have a really good attitude, you have a much better chance of going at bat to at bat, play to play, with a chance of having success. If your attitude goes sour, that goes way down. If you're supporting your teammates and it's not just all about you all the time, you're going to have a much better chance of success. So I'm going to say, circle back, restart here. Start with those 5 things:
Yep.
energy, effort, attitude, resilience, great teammate.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be really good at those. That's part of what Paul's talking about, this process, this routine. That's part of my routine, is I'm going to be really good in those 5 areas.
Mhm.
But then we get more specific into the at bats or the free throw line or the snap or whatever it might be. So again, Paul, we've done everything right.
Mhm.
We've been really good with our routine and our process, and we've tried to have a really good attitude and good energy, and we're over 4. Then what?
Yeah. Well, first of all, talked about this before, but I just want to be super clear. Like, if you care about something and you've put a lot of effort into it and you're invested into it, and it doesn't go your way, you will have an inevitable negative emotion that will come along with that at first, and that is not the measuring stick that we want to hold ourselves to, which is like, if I was able to avoid a negative emotion based on a failure that I had. So don't ever hear us say that. That's not true. Like, if you strike out, you're going to have a negative emotion, at least initially. What you're trying to do is make it so the depth of that negative emotion and how long it lasts is able to be lessened and lessened and lessened by the things that you actually focus on, which is, yes, I struck out. That's frustrating. There's no getting around that. But am I evaluating my at bat from the standpoint of, I struck out, man, I stink. I'm terrible at this and I don't like this game? Or is it, I struck out, I'm very frustrated by that, but I know that I either did the correct breathing technique in the batter's box because that's part of the routine, or actually I didn't. So now I have something going into my next at bat that I can control, that I can improve upon, because there's no guarantee that I'm not going to strike out in my next at bat too, right? But when you're focusing on things that are more controllable over and over and over again, it steadies those waters. Like, you don't have to ride this thing up and down and up and down as much. You're going to a little bit because you care about it and it's a competitive environment. But if you can focus on things other than the very black and white of like, I got to hit or not, you're always going to live in a little bit more of a middle ground of like, I'm more steady. Because you don't want to be through the moon every time you got a hit either. Because if you do that, that means that every time you strike out, you're going to be all the way in the basement. And it's not really the way that you want to play the game. So what can you focus on that has you be a little bit more centered more often? And usually that has to do with those 5 controllable things that you just talked about. Don't worry about how you had the negative emotion, because you're going to. Just evaluate yourself appropriately based on other things than the results themselves.
Love it. So if we have a plan, I'm going to be those 5 things, and I'm going to be really focused on my routine, my breath. Now we have a way to analyze our performance afterwards. Now we can look back and say, did I do these things? Yes or no? And if it's yes to all of these, I did take my deep breath, I had my focal point, it was great energy, effort. Sometimes we just have bad games. We have to get past that. But is there something else that I can then change? So as you're building up these routines, and yes, we don't want to get in this super deep because it could be 2 hours, but a couple things to think about. I'm just going to throw this out there because I want you to then think about this afterwards. Physical and mental things that you need to do before the game that give you the best chance of success.
Mhm.
Okay. Physical and mental things that you need to do in the game that give you the best chance of success. Now, after the game and you get in your notebook, your journal, you're going to write down all the things that I did well. I was resilient. I was a great teammate. I took great swings, physical and mental things that you did well, all the things you did well. Then you're going to write down physical and or mental things that you want to work on. So this is where we go, it just gets emotional and we skip past this. But if you really want to start to dig into things other than just stats, which we strongly suggest that you're going to look at, this takes a little bit of energy and effort to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going to let the emotions settle down. As Paul said, we just lost a big game. I'm emotional. Awesome. You should be, and that's okay. Once that's settled down a little bit, what did I do well physically and mentally? I want to repeat those things. What do I want to work on physically and mentally? And the last thing, it's just 3 questions. You got time for it. How do I work on those things? Those physical things, those mental things. But what we do is we go 0 for 4 and we think we suck and we just move on. And then we're just relying on, well, now I got to get 3 hits next game in order to feel better. But we want you to be able to be way more specific than that. Okay, if physically you went 0 for 4 and you realized I was really good up until I got to 2 strikes. And then my routine, I forgot to take my deep breath. I got really anxious, really nervous. Okay, now we can work on the mental skills needed with 2 strikes. Or maybe it's a physical adjustment that makes you feel better. Maybe we need to choke up, widen out, do all these different things. So the better you can be at that, the more specific you can be. Again, we still have the general things: effort, energy, attitude, resilience, teammate. I know you want, especially if you're an older athlete, you want more specifics. I can't tell you what those are. Paul can't tell you what those are that you can be working on physically and mentally. You need to hone those in. And you have coaches that hopefully can help you with this. Coach, I get to 2 strikes. I'm not sure what my approach is supposed to be. I'm not sure if I should change anything with my swing, stance, whatever it might be. Boom, let's hone in on those. Now we have this growth mindset, and now we can see progress. Because you athletes hopefully know this. If you have something specific to work on and you put your energy and effort into working on that and you work on it really hard, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get better at it. But what we do instead is let all these opportunities to learn from bad games and to learn from good games, we let those opportunities go. So be the best at learning from good and bad, what you did well, what you want to work on, how you're going to work on those physical and mental things. Paul, anything to add to that?
Just goes back to a lot of self-awareness. And self-awareness can come from an evaluation of self without any events happening, but a lot of honing in your self-awareness is using events that happened as your measuring stick to whether or not certain process-oriented things are working. It's really hard to know what direction is the right one to go in to reach your goals if you don't know where you currently are. And so we talk about that a lot, right? So like if you become a really good self-evaluator in a good way, some people say really good self-evaluator, they think what we're talking about is you need to be hard on yourself all the time. No, you got to be honest with yourself all the time. So that's good and bad, right? But knowing where you're at and having a lot of self-awareness based on some of the things that you just talked about with being good at identifying specifics after the game and when you're evaluating yourself in general is really important, because then that helps clarify the roadmap of here's where I am and here's where I want to go. And when you have a good roadmap in front of you, a lot of times it feels, even after failures, it feels better because you're just like, I have clarity with what is going on. And if I just do these things, then I give myself the best chance of success next time. And now I'm looking forward to the next game. I'm not dreading the next game. So a lot of great things happen when you become specific and really good at honest evaluation, both good and bad.
So be your best coach and best mental performance coach. So this is basically what Paul and I do with with people. Where's the starting point? And I'm just thinking about a shortstop here. Where is they're making a lot of errors. Where is that going wrong? Well, we can't just say get better. Just take more ground balls. Yes, that will help. But is their prep step good? Do they have a good thought in their head as they're taking their prep step? Are they relaxed? Are they in flow? Or do they just have one specific thought? Things we talked about in other podcasts.
Mhm.
Do they need, is it their first step that they struggle with? Do they need help with their backhand? Do they need to take way more reps backhand? I watch catchers a lot. Generally, catchers struggle with receiving in one area, and it can be different for different catchers. It might be the inside ball to a righty. I don't want to get on too crazy of a path
Sure.
with this. It might be the low and outside. Some guys struggle with balls high in the zone.
Mhm.
You can say, man, my receiving sucks. Yeah, you can say that, I guess, but how is that helping?
Mhm.
How is that helping you to get better? You can say, man, I just sucked at hitting this weekend. Okay, but now what? So again, trying to be, and this is hard, but you'll make progress at the self-awareness that Paul mentioned too. The more you reflect, the more you understand where you're starting, and then reflect on that after games, tournaments, the more self-aware you're going to become and the better coach you're going to become for yourself.
Mhm.
And also, the easier it is for coaches then to take a piece of this too. They see you're not just this emotional mess, that you're really working to get better. And then you have your coaches on your side and you're a good teammate and you have your teammates supporting you on down the road. So try to be real specific on areas that you need to work. Once you do that, you can then kind of chart the progress. You will see the progress in those areas. It's not like the weight room, Paul, which we mention all the time, right? Like now I have 100 on the bar. Now I have 110. And
Yeah.
if you work and work and work, it is kind of like that in a way, in that if we were that specific, I know on the bench press that I want to get strong.
Mhm.
But what we do in sports is say, I know I want to be a better hitter. Well, that's too general.
Yep.
If we can get specific in it, and just like we do on the bench press, I need to get better at hitting the off speed pitches.
Yep.
Awesome. Now away we go. We'll get better at that. So get more specific. All right, Paul, really good. Anything to wrap this baby up?
Nope. Great stuff.
Awesome. So athletes out there, the whole thing here is we want you to focus less on the stat sheet. We know it's going to be there. And I want you to have great stats. And
Mhm.
so does Paul. But it's just not realistic to focus on that all the time. There's going to be highs and lows. So this gives you another thing, pulling away from those stats somewhat, or altogether if you can. That'd be fine. Because if you're all out of the stats and all in on, I'm going to get better and better and better at these specific things I need to get better at, the stats are going to get better, I promise. Maybe not next week, but next year, big picture.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, Paul. Thanks a lot again. We'll talk again real soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.